Welcome to the Grant Writing Simplified podcast. This is the place to learn how to make a big impact in your community through grant writing and nonprofit consulting. The world needs you to step forward as a grant writer and use your skills to lead with confidence. I'm Teresa Huff, former special ed teacher turned grant writer and nonprofit strategist. In my 20 years of freelancing, I've helped nonprofits triple their funding and exponentially increase their reach. Now I'm stepping up to mentor freelancers and nonprofit leaders like you who are ready to take your skills to the next level. It's time to get intentional about your vision so you can create lasting change in your community. Learn the skills and strategies you need to become the grant writer the world needs. Let's do this. Hey friends, welcome to episode 90. Nonprofits and grant writers often ask me where to find grants, so I tell them about Instrumental. Instrumental is an incredible search tool that makes grant searching go so much faster. It has all kinds of features and data right there in the system, and they will even walk you through setting it up to help you get the most out of the tools. Instrumental brings all your grant prospecting, tracking, and the ongoing management under one roof. In fact, I've partnered with Instrumental to give you a free 2-week trial and $50 off your first month. Go to teresahuff.com/instrumental. That's instrument with an L to start your free trial and use the code GWSPOD. Go give it a try and let me know how you like it. Welcome back. I have been reflecting lately about all the different things we've talked about here to support you in your grant writing work. I often tell you that action brings clarity, and that is so true. Every now and then, though, we need to take a step back and check our premise. Not our promise, although we should keep an eye on those too, but check your premise. The premise is the core of what forms a theory or a plan. This is the basis of the reason you move forward. For example, when you're writing a book, the premise is what the book is going to be about. It's just a very clear, succinct statement. In nonprofit work and ourselves, we need to keep an eye on our premise too, to make sure we are still working in alignment with our premise, with our core why. This is something I work with on nonprofit clients and also in the Fast Track to Grant Writer program to make sure that people are working towards their why. You don't want to be working so hard on something that's completely the wrong direction and misaligned with your goals and your values. Sometimes we don't intentionally do that, but we just get busy and caught up in the next things coming at us that we later realize, wait a minute, somehow this got off track. I don't know where it happened. But we need to deliberately step back now and then to make sure that doesn't happen. The last few weeks, we've had some interesting topics here. We talked for a couple of episodes about Overwhelm and how that can really cloud our decisions, and I gave you some clear strategies to help overcome that. Then I talked with Licky Lavji about blind spots and how blind spots can really skew our decisions in ways we don't even realize until we've uncovered those. I encourage you to check that out in episode 88 if you haven't listened yet. Very fascinating tool. And then last week with Bob Berg, I chatted about having a go-giver mindset. This one will really challenge you to shift your premise of how you approach situations and people. And then make sure you come back next week because we'll be talking about another foundational premise that goes along with that. So because of these, I want you to check your premise from a couple of different angles. First of all, personally, before you get into nonprofit work or grant writing, or before you keep going with it, check your personal premise. Why are you doing this? And if you can't answer that question, maybe it's time to step back and really sit with that a while to uncover why are you doing this? And keep digging deeper until you get to the real answer, the deeper why. Nonprofits also need to know your premise. Before you keep working in so many different directions or before you get off track and out of line with your mission, make sure you know your premise. I work with nonprofit strategy clients on this to get really clear on this first, because your vision and your mission and your core values, those priorities are central to everything else you do. They're important for all your other activities. They serve as a filter for your decision making. And that's the foundation for finding potential funders and grant makers that are aligned with your mission, that would be good potential partners. And then grant writers. Before you write the grant, always check and see, does this grant align with your nonprofit's mission and the funder's mission? Is this a good match, or is it too much of a stretch and kind of getting bent out of shape? People wonder why they don't get grants, but sometimes it goes back a step or two deeper to figure out, do we know our premise, and are we finding good potential funders that align with that premise? If you're struggling with this, I encourage you to really sit down with your team, with your board, and talk through, why are we doing this work? Figure out your premise before you go any further. And now and then, just take a step back and make sure, is our work still aligned with that premise? Because it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and get overwhelmed with that. If you're kind of struggling with this, I encourage you to go back and listen to episode 6, where we talk about grant readiness and making sure that you have those core pieces in place before you get started with grant writing. Then also episode 66, why just get grant syndrome doesn't work. And I share with you a better alternative and a better approach to that. And then make sure that you are asking for money for the right reasons with your grant writing. In episode 80, I talked about 7 things grants are not, and I shared the things you need to know about grant funding. As you're considering your premise, go back and listen to those resources as well to make sure that you are building a solid foundation for your nonprofit. You are here because you want to do good work in the world and you want to make a difference. And that's why I'm here to support you, because I want to help you do that. And I see nonprofits all the time working so hard on the wrong things, on things that are not going to move their work forward and not going to help them find success. I want to help you use your resources most effectively to be able to make an impact in your communities. If you're a nonprofit or a grant writer and just not sure how to do this and you need to talk it through, book a strategy call with me. I have a couple of openings coming up in May. So send me a message and we'll talk about getting that on the calendar and getting you moving forward more effectively. We'll come up with a solid plan. Now, if you are on the verge of this, nonprofit grant writing is new to you, you can go take the quiz, Do You Have What It Takes to Be a Grant Writer, at teresahuff.com/quiz. And if you're a nonprofit wondering how you can be more successful with grants, you can take the Nonprofit Grant Readiness Audit at teresahuff.com/grant-ready. I will link to everything in the show notes today, but as usual, I want to leave you with a challenge question. I'd like to know, what is your premise, both personally and as a nonprofit organization? What is your premise? Can you answer that? And if not, maybe it's time to step back, get some pencil and paper, and think it through. All right, friends, keep at it, because you have good work to do out there. Now go change your world.